Welcome to the Atheist in Recovery podcast, where we talk about finding hope in recovery. And now your host, Dr. Adina Silvestri.
Hola, Atheists in Recovery, and welcome to episode 96 of the Atheists in Recovery podcast. And today we are talking about manifesting your dreams in recovery. But before we do, I want to talk a little bit about a spring survey that I created. And I would love it if you would take 45 seconds to fill it out. This is a survey to help me help you. Really, I mean, the questions are very, very simple. What's your favorite episode? What's your least favorite episode? Do you like guest episodes? Would you rather I not do any solo episodes? Really straightforward questions, and they would help me out a great deal and in the direction that the podcast takes in the future. So if you wouldn't mind going to the show notes page below, or you can go to atheistinrecovery.com/spring survey. And as a thank you, after you've completed it, you'll be able to download a spring cleaning your recovery checklist just for you. Okay, so let's get on to the episode today. I want to start us off with a quote. The quote is, "The life of every man is a diary in which he means to write one story and writes another, and his humblest hour is when he compares the volume as it is with what he vowed to make it." J.M. Barrie, author, Peter Pan. I believe this quote really speaks to what we're talking about today. It really highlights this theme of journaling and knowing what you want, but perhaps just getting stuck and not knowing how to get there. So my hope is that after this podcast, you will dominate the world. No, my hope is that you'll wonder why you haven't added journaling to your recovery journey in the first place. Like, it'll just be so obvious to you. This is my hope. So let's talk about 5 takeaways of manifesting your dreams in recovery. As I mentioned, perhaps you know exactly what it is you want in life, but there's something that's keeping you stuck. Maybe you're in recovery and maybe you have all these resolves. You don't have to be in recovery, however, to manifest your dreams. But let's say that you want to save money. You want to be a better partner, a parent. You're going to write that book or start that business. You're going to get rid of some of those bad habits. But if you did all of these things at once, you'd experience burnout. You know, the whole 1 step forward, 2 steps backward thing. Let's avoid that. Let's essentially avoid that. So more effectively than analyzing these sabotaging behaviors is to nail down a keystone habit. And this is a principle from the book, The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. And he says, keystone habits are small changes or habits that people introduce into their routines that unintentionally carry over into other aspects of their lives. Okay. So you acquire one of these keystone habits and everything else will fall into place. And so a great keystone habit is journaling. Let's talk about why that is. Number 1. Journaling accelerates your ability to manifest your goals. As part of your morning routine, you're all seize the day. You hone your to-do list, you review your life vision, your big picture goals, and as you read and write these goals daily, they become forged into your subconscious mind. Every single day, you're setting the path for whatever decisions or behaviors you decide to engage in. Very important. Number 2, journaling creates a springboard for your daily recovery. Maybe you struggle with consistency. I know this wouldn't be out of the norm. I know that a lot of people that I see, they're in the recovery journey and they're doing great, and then they slip up, and then it's sort of like a snowball effect. Everything else in their life just kind of falls back to behaviors that they're just not proud of, or that don't align with their morals or values anymore. And so, with journaling, you're creating that new habit or routine that will eventually lead to other habits and routines. I think I'm skipping a few steps here, so let's go back. So let's say that you struggle with consistency and you're doing this for a few weeks, this new habit, and then you fall off. So journaling will curb mismanagement. So at the end of the day, if you bookmark your day at the beginning and at the end with journaling, at the end of the day, you're opening up your journal, you're seeing how much you accomplished that day. Maybe you're even giving yourself a rating. And if you want to know more about how I rate my days, you can look at episode 89. So you just go to atheistandrecover.com/episode 89 for more on the rating scale. So you're writing about what you learned and experienced. Most importantly, you're writing about what you want to focus on tomorrow. As you're mentally shutting off for the evening, your subconscious will be preparing a feast for you to devour in the morning journaling session. And then in the evening, the session is short. Maybe it's just 1 or 2 paragraphs, but it's worth it, guys. It really is. It really sets the stage for the next day. Okay, number 3. Journaling creates clarity and congruence. Journaling can create so much power. By journaling in the morning and in the evening, you'll start to see incongruencies. Perhaps you want to write about your recovery journey. Maybe you want to start a blog about narcissistic partners or emotionally neglected children, or whatever you want to write about. But you just aren't able to make it happen. As you're journaling, you'll start to really clearly see what needs to be removed and what should be included in your life. So you're then making those steps in order to get closer to those goals. Maybe the thing that's standing in your way, and this is something that stands in my way pretty often, is Netflix. And so maybe you're curbing your Netflix so that you could get in some writing time in the evenings, or that you could get to bed earlier in the evening so that you can get up in the morning before the house wakes up and start a writing session. Just one tiny example there. Number 4, journaling wipes away your emotions. And I think of this as like journaling is like emotional windshield wipers. So in that way, it probably doesn't matter when you journal, as long as you journal. If you're experiencing really difficult emotions, start to write about it. I know personally, when I wake up, I'm pretty cheery in the morning, but if I do wake up and I'm in a bad mood, I get out that pen and paper. Maybe you're an electronic person, but I like pen to paper. And it helps get those thoughts and those feelings out, even if it's just a rant session, because then it's those feelings and thoughts aren't ricocheting around in your mind any longer. And you're able to really objectively look at what it is you're feeling. What's beneath all these emotions. Okay. So journaling is like emotional windshield wipers. And then number 5, journaling reveals and tracks patterns and cycles. I've talked a little bit about this before, but if you want to hold on to something, you track it, whether it's money or sobriety days or whatever it is. And you'll be tracking different things at different times in your life. If you're solidly in recovery, you're tracking other things. You're probably tracking meditation or moods. And journaling is a great way to track patterns and cycles. And if you're tracking moods, for example, you'll start to see on certain days when you're peaking, when you're having a great day. And then you'll start to see what did I do that day? Start to ask yourself these questions like, who was I around? What did I do? What was my routine like? What was my diet like? All these things. Maybe you had a great day out in nature with your children. Maybe you're surrounded by loved ones. Maybe you just had a solitude day where you got to be creative. Make sure you're tracking that. That's important information because then you can add that into your daily and your weekly routine. Add more of it in. Okay, so in conclusion, we talked about 5 takeaways to manifest dreams in recovery. Number 1 was to use journaling to accelerate your ability to manifest your goals. 2 is journaling creates a springboard for daily recovery. 3, journaling creates clarity and congruence. And you really want to hone in on those incongruencies. What are you doing that's standing in the way of creating this future life that you've always envisioned? Or maybe you're pivoting. What are you doing to make sure that pivot is on the right path? Maybe you've always led your life by other people's view of you. Maybe you always led your life to make parents happy or to, win the approval of others. And, now you're not doing that anymore. You're pivoting. You're listening to what you want. Journaling is great for that. It's great for helping you see what you're doing that's standing in the way. Number 4, journaling wipes away your emotions. Think of those windshield wipers. And number 5, journaling reveals and tracks patterns and cycles. So as we wrap up, guys, journaling is a powerful tool. I love it. I do it often. You're essentially identifying and working towards your future self every single day, and you'll design the life that you want to live. Okay, so before you go, one last announcement. Please don't forget to take the A.I.R Spring Survey. This 45-second survey to share some feedback with me. It's relatively pain-free, I promise. And you can find it again on the show notes page below or go to atheistinrecovery.com/spring survey. All right, thanks for listening, guys. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Atheists in Recovery podcast. For more great info and to stay up to date, head over to atheistinrecovery.com.